Why did God really create mankind? Why were we created? What is the purpose of our creation? Let's find out what the Qur'an says. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to another video on the Qur'an study channel. I'm Munib Ali. So one of the things I ponder about often, and I'm sure you do too, is why was mankind created? Why did Allah put mankind on earth? What is the purpose? What is our purpose? When we get up in the morning, what is the purpose of our living? What is the purpose of our lives? Now, there are lots of things in the Qur'an, there are lots of concepts in the Qur'an where Allah describes what we must do in our lifetime. Allah describes a test. Allah talks about how mankind was created to serve Him, ibadah. But I've always thought about what is the tangible reason for our creation? Why does Allah want us to serve Him, and what does that really mean? And I came across this verse which I thought it's really important for us to study, which I think can help us to provide part of the answer of why we were created. It's part of the keys to unlocking the reason for our creation, why we are on this earth. The verse that I want us to look at today is Surah Al-An'am, which is chapter 6, verse 165. In this, Allah says, He is the one who made you khala'ifa on earth, wa huwa allazi ja'alakum khala'ifa al-ardi, and raised some of you above others in level, so that He may test you in what He has given you. Now, often the translations of this verse talk about how we have been appointed as successors on this earth. But I want to look at this word khalifa in more detail. Khalifa on earth. Khalifa al-ardi. Because as I said, I think this holds part of the key, part of the answer to the question that we're looking at today. So, Khalifa is made up of the three root letters Kha, Lam, Fa. And the meaning of these three root letters is to replace, to come after, to substitute and to supersede. So, just as the night supersedes the day and the day supersedes the night, and when a particular generation supersedes the previous generation, that's captured by this word, by these three root letters. What it also means, however, is to be in charge of something, either for someone or after someone or an entity. So if you like, a subordinate. If it was an army, it would be a lieutenant or lieutenant, depending on how you pronounce the word. So you've been put in charge of something by a higher authority than you. In charge of something. Now this is really important to bear in mind. If we go back to this verse and we look at Khalifa on earth, what we begin to understand from this phrase is that God put us in charge of this earth under His authority. He is the master, and He has appointed us as an agent, if you like, or a custodian of this earth. Just think about the honor that He has given mankind, that He has given you and me. He has placed trust in us. He has created a trusteeship where He has given us control over this earth. That is what it means when Allah says to us that He has made us Khalifa on earth. We're almost like His subordinates. We are not even close to being of the same magnitude and power of God. But think about the power that He has given us. If He is telling us that He has made us Khalifa on earth, His agent. Once we begin to understand this term, it's the repercussions, the meanings are quite incredible. And it helps us to make more tangible sense, at least for me, in terms of what the purpose is of our creation. It's to have custody of this earth. You see, when I am born, this earth, the custody of this earth, is passed down to me from my previous generations. The same for you. So you and I, have been passed custody of this earth by our previous generations under the authority of God who created everything. That for me gives me something to hold on to, something tangible to think about when I'm thinking about the purpose of my existence. It's to look after this world and everything within it. So what God is telling us, let's make some notes about this. He's telling us that He has entrusted this earth to us and that we are the custodians of everything on this earth, whether it's living or non-living. So that includes looking after the people, looking after all the other living creatures on this earth, and looking after the environment. Everything that is on this earth, whilst we are living, it is for us, it is our responsibility to look after it. But there is more to this. Let's complete the study of this verse. And raised some of you above others in level, so that He may test you in what He has given you. First, He's telling us that some of us have been given more. We have been given more, and with that, we have a higher level of responsibility when holding custody of this earth. And that level is dependent on what and how much we have been given and bestowed upon by God. Again, it's a bit perhaps like an army where you've got people of different levels with different levels of responsibility, but everybody has a part to play and everybody is a custodian. Everybody has been given this responsibility. And the second thing here, which Allah is telling us, is that this life is a test. It's a test as to whether we act as the Khalifa, whether we act as the custodian, this responsibility, this honor which God has given to us, whether we act as the Khalifa in line with what has been bestowed on us. So depending on how much and what has been bestowed on us individually, the test is whether we are fulfilling our responsibility on earth. In this life, our purpose of life is to do with this life. You see, many people think that the purpose of our life is all about the hereafter. And of course there is something about the hereafter, but the critical responsibility as to why we've been created is about this life, this earth that we have been put on. Now there is another verse that I was looking at which we need to study, which talks again about the different levels of responsibility. And the reason why we are looking at this verse is that it adds further context and clarity to what we are just studying. This is Surah Az-Zukhruf 43 verse 32. Do they distribute your Lord's mercy? We distribute among them their livelihood in the life of the world. And we raise some of them above others in level. Remember, that's what we just studied previously. We raise some of them above others in level so that they may take one another in service. and the mercy of your Lord is better than what they accumulate. Look at this very carefully. We need to be making some notes here. What God is telling us here is that we have to serve one another. We have to serve one another based on the level of responsibility and based on what has been bestowed on us by God. Do you see this? We have to serve one another. And the second point here is that Allah is saying serving is the opposite of accumulation. It is the opposite of accumulation. In other words, serving means giving. Now this is a really important key. Giving. You see, throughout the Qur'an, there is a strong emphasis on giving. And we need to ponder about this. And we're going to connect it back to our responsibility and the purpose of our life. You see, God is telling us in the Qur'an that He has given us, from the time that He creates us, the nourishment that He provides to us throughout the course of our lives is immeasurable. And what God is saying to us is really twofold. The first thing God tells us in the Qur'an is that some of God's attributes, some of His attributes, we have to try and replicate as custodians of this earth. Like I said before, we are not equivalent to God. We are not God. That is not what God is saying. What God is saying that there are certain attributes that we have to replicate. So, for example, He provides blessings to us continuously, mercies to us continuously without discrimination. This is an attribute we have to replicate. We have to pass on the blessings that we have been given by God to the needy without discrimination. God empowers us. He gives us freedom. The question is, will we empower others? Will we provide freedom to others? Or will we enslave people? Not just physically enslaving people, but enslaving people's minds. Will we rule by fear, or will we give people freedom of choice and freedom of actions? God gives us wealth and other types of possessions. The question for us is, will we replicate that attribute and provide wealth and possessions which we do not need to others? Will we do that? This is all about giving. It is all about giving. You might remember I did a video about man versus soil and how God has created a sign in the soil for us, where the soil, it takes only what it needs from the nourishment of God and then passes it along to the rest of the soil so that the entire soil becomes healthy, nourished and fertilized. It's called diffusion. And there is a sign in there for us. Will we do the same? Will we give? Or will we accumulate? The other thing which God says to us is that He has bestowed on us physical attributes and capabilities. Will we use those physical capabilities to give? Will we use our physical capabilities to help others who struggle with physical capabilities, such as the elderly, such as our parents when they've become older? Will we use our physical attributes to give them what they need? Allah has given us the ability to learn, to obtain knowledge and intelligence. Will we use that knowledge for the betterment of society, for the betterment of this world, for the security of this world? Or will we use it to accumulate knowledge and accumulate wealth just for ourselves, to fulfill our selfish desires? So you see, God has given us. He gives us continuously. And the responsibility as His subordinate, as the custodian, as the people who have been given trust to look over this earth is to give as well. To see this strong link between giving and custodianship of earth. This is, I feel, a very important point about the purpose of our life, the purpose of our existence, of coming into existence. If you are finding this video useful, please don't forget to click on like, because that really does help our channel and helps to push these types of videos to other people who might benefit from it. And of course, please keep commenting on the videos. I really do appreciate the time you take to provide your comments, your analysis, your critique. It's all very much appreciated. Now, when you often talk to people about what they understand to be the purpose of our existence, there are many important concepts which get discussed, and they're all very valid. Let's put some of them together, and I'm going to try and explain what I mean when I say that what we've discussed today may provide the tangible link between these different concepts. So, for example, Allah says in the Qur'an that we were created for nothing other than to serve God, to do ibadah. But what we have learnt today, which I think is very important, is that when God says we should serve God, what he also means, or what he really means, is that we do this by serving each other. By serving each other. We looked at chapter 43:32. By giving, by helping and supporting each other. That is the true meaning behind ibadah. Now, God describes ibadah in the Quran in a lot of detail, all of which is to do with actions. There are lots of actions which fall under the category of ibadah. But the underlying concept is one of actively giving. Then, and as we have studied in many of our study sessions, is that God tells us to do good and to bring balance, to bring back and maintain balance in this world. And there are so many references in the Quran to do with Amlan Salihan and Ihsan. And they're all about bringing balance, filling in gaps, helping people to develop capabilities and abilities to help themselves and others, to compensate for weaknesses with our own strengths. That is all about giving. We are giving our physical strengths and our knowledge and our mental strengths to help people, including our wealth as well. And indeed, God says in 28:77 that he wants us to replicate God's own attributes of giving. And alongside all of these actions, all of these things that we must do on this earth, we know that this is a test. We are continually tested with the situations that we have to confront, with the blessings that we have been given. This is a test throughout our lives from the beginning to the end. We know that. And also alongside all of this, we know that God tells us about the importance of the growth, the enrichment and purification of the soul. Now, I must state that the development of the soul, the nourishment of the soul, it's a very important aspect linked to the purpose of our lives, the journey of the soul. Now, that spiritual side of it, which very much has a link to the physical side of things, I will discuss later, and indeed I've already done previously some videos about this on the YouTube channel. But what I'm focusing on today's video is the more tangible aspects of the reason that we were created. And indeed, God talks a lot about the spiritual growth of individuals and society by giving. Again, giving. You see the link here of giving that goes across all of these aspects and concepts. And perhaps with what we've studied today, perhaps what we've made clear is that the thing which makes all of this tangible and brings it together is that God has given us the honor and responsibility of being made Khalifa on this earth. We have been trusted to look after, to maintain balance of everything on this earth. That is perhaps why we were created. And we must know, because as we said, that this is a test. Like any test, we only have a limited term to accomplish our responsibility. We only have a limited term to give, and indeed, God talks about how people who will not give in this life, when they are brought back for judgment, they will ask for more time so that they can give. Again, it's all about giving. This is about giving everything that we have been given by God. Everything. We have to give out of it. We have to share and serve each other. And of course, when this term has ended, we will be judged. And we will have the recompense for what we have given. And this is the point that God is saying, this is the deal. I will give you the honor of being the Khalifa on earth. I will give you all the resources, everything you need. I will bless you with everything you need. But the test is, and your requirement is, that you fulfill your responsibility as the custodian of this earth. The test is that you accomplish that by giving. That is the key. And you have to overcome your instinct to accumulate for yourself. Whether it's money, whether it's knowledge, whether it's intelligence, whether it's physical strength. Now, what we have to think about is whether that's what we do. When we get up in the morning, do we think that God has given us more time? God has given us another day, another opportunity to fulfill the responsibility, the honor that He has given us. Are we going to use that day to give? Are we going to use that day to bring peace and harmony on this earth? Are we going to use that day to further the agenda of equality, of non-discrimination, of unity amongst mankind? Are we going to save this earth from destruction by pushing the environmental agenda? Are we going to be voting for those people who are working hard for our agenda? Are we going to be giving our time for justice? Are we going to be giving our time and our effort to help the elderly and other needy, our parents? Are we going to give? If that is the reason why we were born, if that is the reason why we were created. Now let's summarize what we've been discussing today in just a few points. The first point that we've learned is that we have to honor the trust that God has placed in us by acting as custodian of this earth. A custodian, the protector, the nourisher, the one that takes something and keeps it in good order before passing it on. Do we even think about what sort of earth, in terms of the people it contains and the non-living things within it, do we even think about what kind of earth we are passing on to future generations? They will be Khalifa as well, and they will receive this earth in a particular state from us. So do we think about what sort of earth we are passing on? We must think about that. We've also learnt today that we have to serve each other. In other words, we have to give according to what has been bestowed on us. You see, we are not burdened beyond what we can take. Our responsibility of giving is dependent on how much we have been given. We learnt that we have to give. Give. Don't accumulate. Serve God, do ibadah, by serving others. This is a key. Serve God by serving others. I think that's a really important attribute, concept, instruction for us to keep in mind when we wake up every morning, inshallah. And let's not forget that this is our test. This is the deal. This is the honor that we have been given by God, by our Creator. And the test is whether we do justice with that honor, with that responsibility. Now, I hope that was really useful. Please don't forget, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch the weekly Quran study videos that we're putting up. Please keep providing your comments to us. Please click on like. And inshallah, I'll see you again next week. Assalamu alaikum.
أفلا يتدبرون القرآن